this Tuesday, the 26th of September, picks edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Game Time. Snag the tickets without the stress. Use promo code CFBX on your first purchase to save $20. Download the Game Time app. Use promo code CFBX. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play the Underdog Pick'em in college or NFL and win up to 20x in one game. Plus, every Sunday, they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus up to $500. And finally, we're brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. Welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Monday, the 25th of September. We are here to handicap all of the important action across MLB for Tuesday, the 26th. And tonight is an OG special. We've got, I think what most people agree, are the two best hosts on the show. Joining us from Houston, Texas, is Mr. Munaf Manji. Hey, Munaf, how are you?
I'm doing well. Last week of the regular season, I had to schedule it away where at least you and I got one more pod in before at least the regular season ended, so we can, shoot the shit a little bit as well. But no, glad to be here with you, Mal. It's still some meaningful baseball left to be played, but I can't believe we're almost at the finish line, at least of the regular season.
I was trying to tell my friend earlier on, we've been watching the kids play football tonight, so I was trying to explain to my friend that it's the last week of the season, and I just didn't really, I couldn't give him any context for it because I feel like I've played every game. Like, I'm exhausted. I feel like I've played 156 games and without the last thing. I'm absolutely knackered. And then we get a month of the playoffs. So this time next week, Munaf, what are we going to be doing?
Yeah, so we'll probably do like a playoff preview. I'll try to schedule, I know we did the World Series draft last year. I'll try to figure out a way to do that again. But I think next Monday we'll probably come back, maybe review the season, look ahead to the wild card games that are going to be starting on Tuesday, Wednesday. I think the official playoffs then, at least for the divisional rounds, I believe start on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a good reminder to remind our listeners, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel or to the podcast, wherever you do get it, with that Spotify or Apple. Now is a great time to do so. And all great things must come to an end. If you look at the chat there, Mal, that TVDBJ is not the first one in the door.
Yep, TVDBJ has lost his streak because Jason Whittemar, new long-time listener, first-time live. Jason's bossed through the door and has just wrenched TVDBJ's streak off him. So well done, Jason. Jason is the man. Jason is the hot hand, Trev. You're old news, Trev. We don't want to hear it from you. You've gone bottom of the depth chart with you, young man. Fantastic. Munaf, I was going to ask you about the Houston Astros. Myself and Lonte did a show last night. Mm-hmm. There was only 4 games today. Arizona blew one against the Yankees, and then there's 3 games later on tonight. And a lot of the show last night, we talked about Houston because they've got quite a big game tonight, so we mentioned them. We handicapped that game, but then also we handicapped their chances to make the playoffs, to then advance and do well in the playoffs. And now you're closer than any of us to what's going on in Houston. So I know you've had a few opinions on it. I saw you were texting Lonte some stuff. So yeah, how are you feeling about this week? What's going on?
I think if we want to talk about it from a baseball perspective, Mal, it's really been that it's number one, the lineups that Dusty Baker is putting out for the Astros, because I know a lot of fans have been angry anytime they do see Martin Maldonado in the batting lineup, because he's batting. I think you probably have a better career batting average than he does, Mal.
I think he's in the 200, isn't he? Or is he considerably?
Yeah, he's probably around 200 or probably like less than 200. That's a problem number one. And also the pitching just hasn't been there this season. And I think also, I mean, you take a look, you brought Justin Verlander back, but I mean, he hasn't been the Cy Young pitcher that we saw last year. I mean, after what he did last year for this team, that was just incredible to see. I thought that he was going to regress significantly this year, and he has. And another part of it has been is that like I mentioned, injuries to the pitching rotation, right? No Lance McCullers, so I don't know how long it's been for the Astros. Luis Garcia was lost at the beginning of the season. JP France was pitching well, but he has significantly regressed as well. And I just kind of feel like that all like the deep runs that they've made in the playoffs, maybe that fatigue is starting to catch up to them, because we know this lineup is one of the best in the American League, if not the whole MLB. But at the same time, you also have to pitch to win ball games, and they just haven't been able to do that. And this past weekend was a great example of that. I mean, they gave up 6+ runs in every single one of those games to the Kansas City Royals, and they just haven't been able to beat the Oakland A's and Kansas City Royals of all teams. So I think that pretty much sums it up. And I was talking to Cam. He's a Rangers fan, the golf producer, and who also does all of our wonderful thumbnails for us. I told him that if the Astros lose on Monday night, I think they're done for the season. I don't think they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I mean, things happen so quickly in baseball. And yesterday afternoon, when I sat down to have because I knew me and London wanted 20 minutes to have a look around some postseason markets, and I tried to make a case for the Tampa Bay Rays, and I couldn't. And then the next team I tried to make a case for was Houston.
Yeah.
But the more you looked into it, the harder it was to make that case. They've just wobbled so much. Maldonado was hitting 189. Munaf, I've just looked that up. But since the All-Star break, the Houston have a team ERA. Sorry, I think it's a starting pitching ERA of 4.99. So effectively 5.
Right.
And after that, 25th, 26th at MLB, something like that. I think they've won like 6 of the last 23 home games. That recent series, the Kansas City Royals, 9 for 52 with runners in scoring position. So absolutely limping towards the line. But then every team I looked around, I found it easier to rule them out of my betting than it was to put them in. There wasn't many. I ended up with the Toronto Blue Jays by process of elimination. There was nobody left. The Braves, like we said, that the Braves and the Dodgers loom over that half of the draw. But the Braves pitching's a little bit bashed up.
Yeah,
the Dodgers is the same, and like I say, it was quite easy to. Baltimore didn't want anything to do with that. The bullpen's just packed up now, and I think the lack of experience might cost them. Texas alive, Texas and Toronto, I think were the two that stood out. But yes, this week goes on, we'll know more about it, and we'll be able to make some very definitive picks next Monday night. Which I'm very much looking forward to. Tomorrow's card, Tuesday's card, is a full card. We are going to look around the bigger games, the games that have playoff implications. There's 2 or 3 off the board. The majority are we have priced up. So we'll start tomorrow with let's have a look, 6:10 Eastern first pitch between the Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland Guardians. We have Hunter Green going for Cincinnati, and we have Lucas Giolito going for Cleveland. It's very close on the groups. It's effectively a match. Cincinnati, you can get at -104, with Cleveland at -108, and a total of 8, Munaf.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with this. This was very difficult to pick a pitcher or pick one of these pitchers because they are just going in opposite directions on what's going on this season for both of them. I'll start with Hunter Green here. I mean, I know we've talked a lot about him over the course of not only this season, but last season now. He was supposed to be the next great thing for the Cincinnati Reds, but he's pitched pretty well, I guess I should say, over the last 5 games at least, where he is 2-1 with a 2.93 ERA. He's only allowed 9 earned runs in 27 2/3 innings pitched, and he's the Reds have won 3 out of his last 4 starts. Meanwhile, for Lucas Giolito, who did make a return for this for the the Guardians rotation, he has How should I put this nicely? I'd say he hasn't been very good. So if you take a look at his last 5 games here, Mel, 1-4 with a 6.11 ERA, and I'm using my phone here because my internet's kind of being wacky, but 19 earned runs in 28 innings pitched. His last start, he gave up 3 earned runs and 5 1/3 innings pitched. But he had a phenomenal outing against the Texas Rangers, 7 shutout innings, 2 hits. He had 12 strikeouts in that game for the Guardians there. But I don't know. I could not separate either one of these pitchers. If you had a gun to my head, Mal, I would lean with the red side, but I think we'll end up seeing runs in this game because I think both pitchers are susceptible to giving up runs. And also for Giolito, the Guardians have lost 4 of his last 5 starts as well. So I don't trust Giolito. I really don't trust Hunter Green, but Hunter Green is the pitcher that's in better form right now. I'll go with the Reds on the money line, but I do like the over in this game here, Mel.
You see, I'm much higher on Hunter Green, I think, than you, Munaf.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for him to put a little run together. Obviously, plagued by injury, is always very well thought of in fantasy drafts and when you read a couple of years ago prospect articles, things like that. And he's had 3 really good starts from his last 4. He was scoreless at the Giants through 5 1/3, scoreless against St. Louis through 6, 1 earned run against Minnesota through 7, and then the other one he gave up 3 at the Mets, which wasn't a disaster. Giolito, I went early tonight with my big nope of the day. I need one of those. I need a stamp, Munaf, a big red stamp like a librarian that I'm going to just bang nope for Giolito. So that was it, really. Cincinnati are much better on the road as well, oddly. They've also got something to play for, where Cleveland are just scuffling along. So, yeah, match on the books. Cincinnati shit the bed. They blew that, 9-run lead against Pittsburgh on Saturday night or Sunday night. Well, whatever it was a disaster. But, yeah, I think they can get a win here. Minus 104 against Giolito, I think is a good price, Mina. Next up is it's hard to find these games now. This one's off the board, 6:35 Eastern. Washington Nationals at the Baltimore Orioles. Washington have a TBD pitcher, and I've not seen a pitcher listed at all. I have no clue. While Kyle Bradish is confirmed for Baltimore. Kyle Bradish, I mean, I'll tell you what we can about it, struggling to make a pick. Bradish is 11-7 with a 3.01 ERA. Probably top of this Baltimore rotation at the minute, unless you want to throw John Means in there. In terms of who would you throw out in the first playoff game, who would be your first player to throw out? John Means took a no-hitter into the 7th inning last night. A pitcher that we were really high on for large spells early last season before he hurt himself. Bradish has lost his last 2, but he's pitched well. The 6 innings, 0 earned runs at Houston last time catches the eye. And he does have a 2.57 home ERA. If I'm betting Baltimore this week, I'll probably go until the end of the season. I'd be wanting to take the bullpen out of the occasion. They're just done. And without wanting to take a victory lap, I mentioned this back in May, that there wasn't enough length coming out of the Baltimore starters. Cano just can't punch it. He's gone all season punching everyone out. He can't do it anymore. He hasn't got it in him to get a punchy. So yeah, Baltimore first 5, probably on their own line. Depends who Washington to decide to throw out. But that would be my only handicap here. Is that anything that you do want to do would be to take the Baltimore pen out of the equation, Munaf.
Yeah, I think if you're Baltimore, you probably just want to go out and take care of business in this series against the Nationals, right? Because you still have a 2.5 game lead over the Orioles, and if you take care of business here, and let's say the Rays drop a game or 2 here, you're pretty much clinching that division, and you don't have to worry about it in the back half of the week here, whether that's the weekend series. Yeah. So. And I've been a fan of Kyle Bradish and what he's been able to do this season. I think by far he's probably been the most consistent pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles, 11-7 on the season with a 3.01 ERA. He's been absolutely fantastic over his last 5 starts, 3-1 with a 2.90 ERA. He also shut out the Houston Astros offense in his last start in his 6 innings, 2 hits, and he got 9 strikeouts in that game. So Depending on the price, I would probably look at a run line play here for the Orioles in this game.
If you're looking for playoff tickets for next week, the place to look for them is Game Time. Game Time will make it very quick and easy and not stressful, even in the slightest, to get tickets for any sport, comedy, theatre, etc., including those fantastic MLB playoff tickets for next week. Game Time has things like flash deals, last-minute tickets, and the Game Time guarantee outstanding offer. That is, if you find the tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. I know Sean was using the Game Time app to get tickets for SoFi for the Eagles-Rams game. I think it was all his friends and family, etc., going down. So yeah, download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem the code CFBX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And Underdog Fantasy. A great way to play alongside your favourite football team all season long. Win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. From now until the 4th of October, Underdog is matching 100% the first deposits up to $500, $100,000. Sundays continues on Underdog Fantasy, where you've got $2 million in prizes. You've got $100K in prizes this week, where 10 people will win $10K. If you didn't catch up with Sean and Ryan's recap show on the NFL, Cameron Kerr, who Munaf's already mentioned, threw out a beauty of an Underdog Fantasy player last night, hit a 90-something to 1. Needed Jalen Warren yards in the last game last night for the Steelers, and he hit that. Needed that to go higher, and sure enough, Cameron hit a winner. So if you want those winners, sign up with the promo code SGPN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $500. That's gone up as well, that offer. Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. Next game that is handicapable on the card is a 6:40 Eastern first pitch between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Philadelphia Phillies. Mitch Keller officially TBD for Pittsburgh, but we think he's going, and we have lines, so it seems reliable. Where Aaron Nola will go for Philadelphia, who are a -180 home favourite. The Pirates are +155, and the total is 9.
Yeah, Mitch Keller, we talked a lot about at the beginning of the season, who was having an absolutely fantastic year for the Pirates, but after the All-Star game, he really regressed. There was a stretch there in the month of September earlier and then towards the tail end of August where he was starting to look like the pitcher that we saw at the beginning of the year. But over his last 2 of his last 3 starts, he's allowed 7 earned runs or more. He got shellacked by the Braves in 5 innings. He came back and bounced back nicely against the Nationals, 8 shutout innings. But in his last start against the Cubs, he allowed 7 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings pitched. Meanwhile, Aaron Nola on the other side, he's been a pitcher now that I trust more at home at Citizens Bank Park, where he does have a 6-3 record with a 3.44 ERA. He did face the Pirates earlier this season, where he got absolutely shellacked in that game as well. 5 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings pitched, but the Phillies have won 4 of his last 5 starts, and it's really been backed by the offense because they've really provided the run support for him. He's at home. I think we talked about this last week with, I believe it was me and Lante, or was it Scott? But I said anytime I see Nola on the road, I don't want to back him. When I see him at home, I'm going to get behind him. So I would only look at the run line here. Again, for the Philadelphia Phillies, they're fighting for the wild card positioning. They are at the top in that National League wild card race. They have a 5-game lead, so they're pretty much safe. But you don't want to slip up. You want to carry that momentum into the playoffs. And we saw what they did last year, Mal. They made it all the way to the World Series, just fell a little bit short. So I think they're going to continue to play hardball. I could only look at the Phillies' run line here behind Aaron Nola and fading Mitch Keller.
Yeah, the Phillies are dangerous as well. That's another. We talked about the Blue Jays and possibly Texas, but the Phillies just lurking there, a real danger. Keller, 2 of his last 5 have been shockers. But occasionally he's been okay. In Pittsburgh, they've been playing quite hard this week. They've got a couple of rookies, a couple of call-ups. They've scored a lot of runs. I mean, we just talked about the comeback against Cincinnati, so they haven't given up. They're building they're trying to build something towards next season. I can see a real shootout here. Nola's got a 5.06 ERA in his last 5. My only issue, I think, with this, Munaf, is the weather. It's suddenly up that side of the country turned very autumnal. Now, if you watched any of the D-backs Yankees game tonight, it was played pretty much the entirety in like this sideways rain. You can say the managers have got the raincoats on and the hoods up. There's a lot of umbrellas in the stand. So if that continues, we've got games quite across. There's a few I picked out tonight. Philly were one, Boston another one. Later on, I think the Mets are on the road, actually. Might not be much of a problem. But yeah, I've got a question mark next to that. I'll have to check that. But other than that, I thought this would... I was happy for both pitchers to contribute and take the over 9 here. That would be my play. Next up, let's have a look at a 7:07 Eastern. First pitch between the New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays, where Michael King goes for the New York Yankees and Kevin Gausman is the pitcher for the Blue Jays. And this game is off the board. I'm guessing just because the Yankees finished maybe an hour ago, if that. You got any lines on this at all, Munaf?
Let me double check another place where I usually see if there's lines. Give me a second here. Yankees and Toronto. I see a minus 148 in favor of the Blue Jays, plus 124 for the Yankees, and a total of 7.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was scared of, Munaf, that total. My initial play, I mean, I handicap these without lines most days, and I wanted another run, or at least another half a run, possibly. King is 4-7 on the year, 2.66 ERA. He punched out 13 Toronto Blue Jays in his last start. Yep. It was a bit of a wild starter because I can't remember who was pitching for Toronto, but they punched out a load as well. He's only given up 1 earned run in 4 consecutive games. Kevin Gausman, 12-9, 3.29 ERA. He's got quite a lot of inconsistencies in his game log. It's really hard to pin down whether it's walks, homers, earned runs, strikeouts. You can't really estimate very accurately what he's going to do. He has been excellent in 3 games against the Yankees this season, so that might be the point that you need. I don't trust Toronto. I've spent all year not trusting Toronto. So as much as we've talked them up already this year, I can't trust them. It is certainly not at this short price, minus 148. I do trust both pitchers to go okay. I've watched the Yankees again tonight. They still don't score any runs. They really got a little bit lucky. They were 4-3 down, and Arizona just walked in a tying run, and a base hit got it done for the Yankees in the, I think it was bottom 8 or bottom 9, one or the other. So yeah, my instincts were the under. The 7 is a low number, Munaf, but I will stick with it. There's still Yankees, even if they're playing well, they're good for 1 or 2 runs. That's pretty much it. Blue Jays might just fall over the line here, something like 3-2, 4-2. So I'll take the under 7, Munaf.
Yeah, look, these two pitchers matched up in their last outing against each other, and that was a game where, like you mentioned, Michael King had 13 strikeouts for the New York Yankees, and Kevin Gausman had double-digit strikeouts. So I'm gonna, number one, the first play I do like in this game, I'm gonna go back to Kevin Gausman's strikeouts in this game. If that's anywhere at 7.5, anything in that realm of, I'm gonna go with the over because, like you mentioned, he's been really good this season against the Yankees. 3-0 with a .90 ERA. He's been in double-digit strikeouts in all 3 of those games against the Yankees. And the Blue Jays have won, let's see here, 5-1, 6-3. The Yankees won in the last game. The Toronto Blue Jays won 6-1. So I don't like the price of minus 148. I think I like what I've seen from Michael King as well. He's been absolutely fantastic for them. I think I'm just going to play both of these pitchers to have 10 plus strikeouts and parlay that together and get some nice plus odds on that. But if you're going to make me make a pick here, I'm going to go, I'll lean with the home team, the Blue Jays. I just can't get away from the dominance that Kevin Gausman has had against the Yankees. So strikeout props for both pitchers, and then lean on the money line here for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Just for my own frame of reference here, Munaf, I'm trying to equate a couple of things here. 13 strikeouts, would that kind of be the equivalent of a Premier League team scoring 8 goals, or would that be maybe different?
13. I think maybe like 5 or 6. 8 would be probably like a 20 strikeout game, or anything like above 15.
That doesn't happen very often, does it, Munaf, for a team to score 8 goals?
I mean, if you want to play that game, I can pull up some scores for you later on in the podcast and see.
Shut up, Munaf. 26 minutes it's taken me. Come on. I think that's very disciplined of me.
It doesn't happen very often for teams in Newcastle upon Tyne, I'll say that much.
It took me about 90 seconds for Lontae last night. So the over-under tonight was well and truly over 26 minutes, man. I'm quite proud of myself. Okay, right, sorry, let's get back to normal. 7:10 Eastern first pitch is the Miami Marlins at the New York Mets. Left-handed pitcher Braxton Garrett for Miami. Left-handed pitcher Joey Lucchesi for the New York Mets. -130 for the Mets. Really? No. -130 for Miami. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Miami.
+114 for the Mets and a total of 8. Garrett, 9-6 with a 3.53 ERA. Miami are 1 game back in the wild card race here. They've won 2 in a row, 6-4 in the last 10. And Garrett has been their best pitcher, unquestionably. A 1.63 ERA in his last 5. His last 2 scoreless. He's pitched against the Mets 3 times this season to a 2.63 ERA. So just lots of ticks and lots of boxes for Braxton Garrett. Joey Lucchesi, however, is going really well. He's only given up 2 earned runs in his last 3 starts. This is the first time Miami are going to finish, or endeavouring to finish, over 500 since 2009. Apart from the little COVID season, they managed it. So I think there's a couple of things just tip the balance for me. Miami at home. I still don't really trust. Sorry, Miami are on the road. That's what's confusing me when I read the odds out. I've got them the wrong way around. I just think that with Miami having something to play for, and I trust Garrett more than I trust Lucchesi. We've been on Garrett for several weeks running now, and he's done us well every single time. So I'm going to Miami a nice price here, -130. I'm quite happy with that.
Excuse me. Braxton Garrett's been really good on the road now, 6-2 with a 2.52 ERA, and shockingly, Joey Lucchesi has been really good as well, like you mentioned. I think this might just turn into a little pitcher's duel here, Mal. I kind of like the first 5 innings under in this game. I think both pitchers can go along well here. I'll lean with Miami here as well. I mean, I think the Mets, we talked about this for I don't know how long ago, that their season was pretty much over at the end of July, start of August. Yeah. Maybe even before that. But I know I just kind of think that Marlins, I know that I think I know I for sure picked them to make the playoffs this upcoming season. And I'm kind of trying to pull up the standings here and see where there are. So these are important games for them. They have that 3rd spot right now they're 1 game back behind the Chicago Cubs for that 3rd wild card spot. So they still have something to play for, right? And like you mentioned, Braxton Garrett by far has been their best pitcher. I'll trust him here on the road. I think it's a cheap price here at -135. So I'm with you on the Marlins.
Yeah, the Cubs have got a tricky series as well, which we're going to come to. Miami is still very much live and kicking in this race. Okay, we'll move on. I'll tell you about Hall of Fame bets, who are going to help you win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season. The sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. You can research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. If you put any parlay idea in the Hall of Fame Bets Parlay Optimizer 2, it will help you with things like hit rates broken down by leg, expected probabilities for the parlay, sorting players into who's hot, who's not, who to pick. So stop betting in the dark. Join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. The thing to do here is download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. I think somebody was live editing that Google file where I was trying to read that out, so that's nice there.
That's happened to me like 10 times over the course of the times I've done pods. Like, I think it's either Sean or Kramer doing it, but they were deleting it as I was reading the ad reads. It was so bad.
Like someone booby trapped the bleeding Google. I'm trying to read it out, and this word disappearing before my eye. I held it together though, Munaf. I am a consummate professional, as we all know. Right, 7:10 Eastern first pitch is the Tampa Bay Rays at the Boston Red Sox. We have Zach Eflin for Tampa Bay, and Boston have Tanner Houck going to the mound. -125 the Rays, +114 the Red Sox. Total is 8.5, Munaf. I've definitely got the winner here, so no pressure, but you need to have the same pick as me.
Yeah, I'll start here with Zach Eflin. On the season, 15-8 with a 3.44 ERA. Now, he has started one game against the Red Sox where he did get, I guess, a little bit of trouble. 3 earned runs he allowed in 5 innings in that span. We talked a lot about Zach Eflin this season, is that we trust him at home, and we kind of want to fade him on the road here. I'm trying to look at his stats here. So 11-4 with a 3.30 ERA at home. On the road, 4-4 with a 3.65 ERA. So, I think. Let me talk about Tanner Houck here, because he's been a guy that I haven't really trusted at all for the Boston Red Sox. Yeah. But I guess he's been competent over his last 5 starts, and that's putting it nicely because he just hasn't been very good. 2-2 with a 4.44 ERA. Now, he did face his Rays team earlier this season. He pitched 5 innings in that game now, 4 earned runs off of 5 hits, 6 strikeouts, and 4 walks in that game. And the problem with Tanner Houck is that he issues a lot of walks. And I don't think that you can do that against a team like the Rays, who have all the motivation to play for right now. And they're 2.5 games back, like we mentioned, behind the Baltimore Orioles when it comes to the division. But something my gut kind of tells me to take the Red Sox here on the plus price here, because that -130 on the Rays looks very, very cheap here. I think we also may see some runs in this game, again, depending on weather, because like you mentioned, on that East Coast, the weather is acting up. But I'm going to take the home dog here. I'm going to take the Boston Red Sox +110, kind of be contrarian here.
Munaf, you make me so proud. That is the correct answer.
Thank you.
Well done. The fact is, you laid out the 2 pitches perfectly. Eflin's been great. Houck is not good at home. The problem is, Tampa Bay are so banged up, it's remarkable. And this was a huge part of me having to put a line through them when I started to look for little World Series futures and things last night. And since I did that 28 hours ago, like 3 more of the players have had bits fall off them. Low. I think he fouled the ball off his knee, his patella, broken his patella. Yandy Diaz is nicked up, and Randy Rosarena, all carrying injuries now. And Jason Adam as well, who was out of the bullpen. You can't underestimate a player like that who can literally come into any situation for them. 3rd inning, closer, whatever you like. He's out as well. And I just don't know what lineup they're going to be able to roll out at all. So not only physically, I think psychologically, that's just got to be a huge blow for them. So, yeah, in a close game, especially if it is a little bit horrible weather, and Tampa Bay just might not fancy this very much at all. I'll take Boston. +114 is going to be the price there for the team ride on the Dogs. Next up, 7:20 Eastern first pitch. Chicago Cubs at the Atlanta Braves. Left-handed pitcher, friend of the show, Justin Steele, goes for the Cubbies in the Bryce Elder going for Atlanta. -140 for Atlanta, +128 on the Cubbies with a total of 9.5. Justin Steele, 16-5 with a 3.00 ERA. And eventually he went wrong in his last 2 starts. He's given up 6 earned runs in those 2 starts. He has lost his last 3 as well. There's quite a lot of tickets kicking around in the Cy Young forum amongst the DGens and the listeners. And I know Munaf had a couple of fancy prices as well. He's half a run worse on the road than he is at Wrigley. Bryce Elder for Atlanta, 12-4, 3.63 ERA. Elder might very well have to step up in the playoffs now. You've got Max Fried injured, Charlie Morton's on the IL, and they think he might be able to come back maybe to start a game 2 or a game 3, but he's going to be a little while out. So, yeah, Elder's suddenly been thrust back into the top part of this rotation. He's got a 4.88 ERA in his last 5. Both teams can score some runs here. Chicago is still fighting. I think Chicago are a good price. Gun to my head, I'd take the Cubs here at plus 128. Braves don't really need it if they need to just sit on what they've got and try and organise themselves, get their ducks in a row for next week. Because, like I say, the main concern is going to be their starting pitching. And Elder has been a problem lately. DBJ is just pointing that out in the chat. So, yeah, I think the weather should be all right down in Atlanta. It'll be nice and hot. I'll take the over 9.5, Munaf, please.
Excuse me. I agree with you. I think that we'll see runs in this game, but I think you nailed it, Mal, that for this Braves team, like there's nothing for them to play for, right? The division's locked up. I believe they should have the best record in the National League. I just want to see where the Dodgers are at that point right now. Give me a second here. So, I mean, the Dodgers could still catch them. They have 96 wins to the Dodgers. Braves have the 100 wins. So I think they may need a couple games here to kind of clinch a home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But excuse me, for the Braves, you mentioned it, like the pitching rotation is taking a huge hit, and that I think that in itself for this team that they just want to get these guys healthy and just get into the playoffs because they are, one of the favorites, if not the favorites right now to win the World Series, right? So I think throughout this week, Mal, that you'll probably see guys even in their batting order probably getting some days off here. Guys like Ronald Acuna Jr.'s of the world, the Ozzie Albies of the world, the Matt Olsons of the world. They might get a day or two off here. So I think I would check lineups number one if you're going to be behind Atlanta. But like you mentioned, the Cubs still have a lot to play for, being in that wild card race. So it's tough for me to see Justin Steele bounce back here in a game against the Braves because even without, one or two of these guys not in that Braves lineup, they're still able to put up runs. We saw that last night where Ronald Acuna Jr. wasn't in the lineup against the Nationals. They were still able to get, I think, like 8 runs. So I agree with you over 9.5. Gun to my head, I'd probably still go with the Braves on the money line here, unfortunately, as much as I love Justin Steele.
Jason has co-signed the over as well, so everybody's happy with that. Next up is it's not the penultimate game at all. We've got 3 left. 7:40 Eastern first pitch is the Arizona Diamondbacks at the Chicago White Sox. Stellar pitching matchup between Zach Davis of the Arizona Diamondbacks and Jose Urena of the Chicago White Sox. Arizona minus 132. White Sox plus 120. Total 9.5. Munaf, how are you splitting?
I don't know how I can do this. I mean, look, Zach Davies over his last 5 games, 1-0, but he does have a 5.32 ERA. Hasn't been very good on the road this season, 8.10 ERA. He's allowed at least 3 earned runs in 3 straight starts, and he hasn't made it past the 4th inning in any of those starts for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Jose Urena, like you mentioned, probably hasn't been much better for this White Sox team. On the season, 0-6 with a 7.27 ERA. Over his last 4 games, 0-4 with a 6.20 ERA. Now, again, when we talk about motivation at this juncture of the season, Diamondbacks have it all in the world, right? We just talked about earlier that they lost the game against the Yankees. That's a loss that they took, so they're going to have to get these games back against the White Sox. So I think there's another game where we do see runs. I think that the Diamondbacks will be able to outscore the Chicago White Sox in this game. I'll go with the over again in this game. And again, if you had a gun to my head, I'll go with the Diamondbacks here as well because I'm not backing a pitcher that hasn't won a single game yet this season. So I'll go with the Arizona Diamondbacks in this game, but I love the over as well.
Yeah, you've absolutely nailed it again, Munaf. I think Arizona at minus 132 with a pick for me. They weren't bad against the Yankees tonight. It was the bullpen, or really Gingle, made some errors at the end. I'll tell you what's going to win this game for Arizona is the top of the lineup are going to be able to take Urena to task here, which is Corbin Carroll. I don't get to watch the Diamondbacks as much as other teams, and I watched him tonight, and he's so good. He always looks like he's going to put the ball in play. But also following him up back into Moreno, the catcher, who came across from Toronto. I don't think this season, Munaf, there's been that many trades that have moved the needle.
Yeah.
You can't think of a really outstanding trade. Like last year, we had the sort of Trey Turner and what have you. Either people have got injured a lot or just been kind of bang average. Under the radar, Moreno's been excellent. I think he's at over something like 308. It's over 300 since he was traded to the Diamondbacks. Made a massive difference. Yeah, I just think Arizona will outscore the White Sox. Davis might give up a few, but minus 132 is plenty good enough for a motivated team against a terrible pitcher. And they've just got, I think the White Sox are missing Lewis Robert now as well, who's by far their best player.
Yeah.
So take him out where the Diamondbacks have still got their best players rolling. That's enough to tip it over the edge for me. Next up is a off-the-board matchup, 9:38 between the Texas Rangers and the LA Angels. And it's TBD for Texas. It is left-handed pitcher Reed Detmers for the Angels. And I'm seeing no lines at all for this. Got not many notes as a result. Detmers 3-9, 464. He's been great again lately. We liked him a lot. 338 in his last 5. Quite high scoring games. And that's about all I had. My only other note on this was how good Evan Carter's been for Texas. I think he's made a big difference since coming into the lineup. Just helped with a little bit of youthful exuberance. But yeah, I don't have much for this one at all, Munaf, unfortunately. You?
Yeah, same. I didn't have much either for this game. Obviously, again, if you want to talk about motivation right now, Rangers sitting at top of the AL West, so they have everything to play for right now. Reed Detmers, I just haven't been a fan of this guy. I know he's had flashes where he's looked like a competent starting pitcher in the MLB. I know there's like a few years ago where he had a no-hitter, but other than that, anytime he's on the mound, I usually faded him. But I will mention this, that he does have pretty good history against the Rangers. Just this season alone, he's faced them 3 times. And he has a 1-1 record with a 2.08 ERA. So something to keep in mind there. But this Rangers team is playing good baseball at the right time. And for them to continue being atop of the AL West, especially when you have the Astros and the Mariners going head-to-head, at least to start this week early, I think this is an opportunity for the Rangers to take care of business against the Angels team that obviously doesn't have their 2 best players in Ohtani and Mike Trout. So I would look at Rangers run line or nothing at this point.
Okay, finally, what a huge series this is. 10:05 Eastern first pitch. The Houston Astros at the Seattle Mariners. Cristian Javier for Houston and George Kirby goes for Seattle. Seattle are minus 142 here. Houston are plus 124. And the total is set at 8. Munaf, big old game, this one.
Yeah, big series, obviously, for these 2 teams. I'll start here with Cristian Javier. And I think post All-Star break, he just has not been very good for this Astros pitching rotation. On the road this season, he is 4-2, but he has a 5.40 ERA and 16 starts on the road. At home, that ERA is 3.71 to kind of put it into context there. Post All-Star break, 2-3 with a 5.10 ERA. Now, he does have pretty good historical numbers against the Mariners, but I'm not sure that's going to be able to carry into this game here. Since the 2020 season, Cristian Javier in 8 appearances against the Mariners, 3-1 with a 2.45 ERA. However, over his last 2 starts, he's given up a total of 8 earned runs and 10 2/3 innings pitched to the Seattle Mariners. George Kirby on the other side, 11-10 with a 3.58 ERA. Has been really good at home this season, 6-4 with a 3.17 ERA. Did have a really good outing against the Astros earlier this season, where he did go 6 2/3 innings in that game, allowed 6 hits to the Astros, but only gave up 1 earned run. Now, my problem with George Kirby is that he's allowed at least 3 earned runs in 5 straight starts for the Mariners, and the Mariners have lost 4 of his last 5 starts. And also, I'll point this out as well, is that he's given up a home run in 4 of his last 5 straight starts as well. But 4 of his last 5 starts have actually been on the road, where, just to put into context here, Mal, that on the road, 5-6 with a 3.98 ERA, and at home 6-4 with a 3.10 ERA. God, this one was difficult for me, but I think the value is probably on the Astros here at plus 120. I don't love it, but I think this is going to be a game where we probably see runs are going to be at a premium, because both organizations know and both managers know how important this game is going to be. So I'll go under 8, and I'll take the plus 120 price on the Astros, but I don't love that. My more favorite play is probably going to be the under in this game here, Mel.
Okay. My play is Houston, Munaf. We've clicked a lot tonight. Javier's last 2 have been better. And I just think Kirby looks vulnerable. He's been very middling profile recently. 3-4-4, 3-3 earned runs in his last 5 starts. If Houston are going to click, and if Houston are going to put a run together this week, they need to start at some point. They need to start here, in fact.
Yeah.
We just went through some of the stats earlier on. The bright spot at the minute has been Alvarez, 30-game on-base streak, the longest active current in the majors. So they're going to have to do something, and they're going to have to do it quickly. I think they can. They're better away from home as well. For some odd reason, undoubtedly, they've been better on the road this season. Houston will be my pick at plus 124. Moon, I've just having a little look around the rest of the card here.
Yeah.
Is there anything that takes your eye? We've got a Dodgers-Rockies doubleheader, which isn't very exciting. However, the Rockies can often throw in a good win against the Dodgers. I think if you take both ends, if you take the Rockies in both legs there, I think you'll end up with one winner. And then the other game, really, that caught my eye is the San Diego Padres at the Giants, just because of the great form the Padres have been in and the great form that Seth Lugo's been in. So Seth Lugo goes tomorrow against the rookie. His name is Kyle Harrison, left-handed pitcher, who's actually gone all right. But I just think San Diego, they went on a bad streak. They're 9-1 in the last 10. They did lose a couple of nights ago. San Francisco, the exact opposite, 2-8 in their last 10. San Diego are just playing with the handbrake off at the moment. So San Diego run line, they've been winning, and they've been winning comfortably. So that would be my best of the rest, Munaf. Did you have anything?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's the other game that stood out to me as well. I mean, it feels like it's too little too late for the Padres, but they're playing great baseball. I mean, I think me and Scott talked about this, I think, last week, that the Padres were playing great baseball, but there's not enough games left now for them to sneak into a wild card spot, because as it stands, as of before the Monday games, they're 5 games back. So, I mean, they could win out, but they'll need a lot of help to get there. But yeah, hopefully that's just something that maybe they can carry into next season, because Blake Snell is going to be the Cy Young Award winner for the National League. They have, when we talked about the top 4 batters in this lineup for the Padres, it's probably up there among the best when they're all clicking at the same time. But I guess too little too late for the Padres. But I agree with you. Seth Lugo has been in great form, as well as Blake Snell, and they're going back-to-back Monday and Tuesday. So if you want to put together a little open parlay and take Blake Snell and the Padres on Monday night, and then come back with the Padres again on Tuesday night, I think that might work out well. But yeah, that was the other game. You nailed it.
I'll tell you what, Munaf, looking at the National League wildcard standings, so you've got Philly and the D-backs and the Cubs. The first off, my eyes are drawn immediately to San Diego. So the teams that are outside the wild card, Miami, Cincinnati, all the way down to Colorado. The best run differential in there is the Mets with -20. Then go San Francisco -33, Miami -51, Cincinnati. The Padres is +91.
Yeah.
They're the only team in there with a plus run differential. And it's not even close, it's 91. And then the other thing that stands out right next to that number is their expected win-loss record, which I think is the Pythagorean record. 87 and 69.
Yeah.
Well, on 77, and that's 10 more games. Miami, who was sitting up there at the top, have an expected win-loss of 73 and 83. Yeah. Like, it's just insane. That figure strays from the mean sometimes. 4 or 5 games occasionally is quite a lot. That's the biggest disparity I've ever seen. I know Miami have won all those one-run games. They've won every one-run game they've played in. It's been incredible. But yeah, and the only thing with Snell is I don't think it's going to be in San Diego next season. So yeah, we'll have to see how that pans out. But
I think something interesting next year, Mal, is that it's something similar to football, right? When we talk about teams that have a big winning record against or in like single possession games. I think excuse me, that was the case last year for the Minnesota Vikings, where I think they had like a crazy record in one possession games where you're expecting regression, right? And I think that regression is right now for the Minnesota Vikings in football, where they're 0-3. And now, like you mentioned, for the Miami Marlins, where they've won so many one-run games, maybe next season we might have to look at, okay, that regression might be due for the Miami Marlins next season, where they might not be in the National League wild card race or even in the NL West or NL East race. That they might, or we may have to look at an under on their season win total for next season. But I think that's something interesting that we might have to look at.
Finally, Munaf, are we going to throw out a lock and a dog here for Tuesday?
Of course we are. Why will we not? Just because it's the last week of the regular season?
Go on then.
All right, for my lock, let's go over to the game between the where's that over that I like? Yeah, the Cubs and the Braves right now. Justin Steele and Bryce Elder. I know we talked a lot about Justin Steele on the pod, how he's having a Cy Young season. But unfortunately, his last 2 starts, he's allowed 6 earned runs, like you mentioned there, Mal. And I'm not sure if he'll be able to bounce back against his Braves lineup. And again, Bryce Elder hasn't been very good at all for this Braves team either. So, you're in hot Atlanta. Temperatures are they're starting to cool down a little bit across the country because we're kind of getting to the fall season here. But Atlanta's always hot. But I think this number 9 is a little conservative. I'll take the over 9 here as my lock between the Cubs and the Braves. For my dog, you know what? Let's go with the Diamondbacks run line, Mal. -1.5 plus 110. I think there is some value there. We talked about Jose Urena. I mean, he hasn't won a game this season for the Chicago White Sox. I don't think that's going to start in this game against the Diamondbacks. I know I mentioned that Zach Davies has been absolutely brutal on the road this season, but the Arizona Diamondbacks have all the motivation in the world right now because, like we mentioned, they're in that National League wild card race. They need to hold on to that spot if they want to win, or if they want to get in, they're going to have to win. So I'll take the Arizona Diamondbacks run line -1.5 plus 110 as my dog.
Okay. Well, my lock, Munaf, is the Arizona Diamondbacks, but plain old money line. -132. It's right in that dangerous range where I can never pick a winner between -130 and -140. Yeah, they've won a lot of games just like this. So this is like 8-5 or something. Arizona win. So we all win. We win the over. You cash, I cash. And for my dog, I've got the same game, Munaf, but I'm going to take the Cubs on the run line. As we said, the Braves' job now is to position themselves ready to go next week with all their ducks in a row. They don't need this. Bryce Elder is a little bit wobbly, or even worse. And the Cubs have got the star picture out. Yeah, he's had 2 bad starts. However, he's proved his ability, and I think he's done enough that we have to trust him one more time. And the Cubbies are still going to go for it. So if we're getting a shootout, let's see if the Cubs can win this one. +128 is the price on the Cubs. And I think we've done it. Anything else you want to tell the people?
No, I mean, last week of the regular season, like we've mentioned, should be a lot of fun to watch this race down the stretch for the AL West, especially, and also the National League wild card, like we've talked about on the pod. So looking forward to it, and definitely looking forward to the playoffs as well. So it's been a grind of a regular season. Appreciate everybody in the chat that's joined us all season long. But we're getting ever so close to the finish line, and hopefully, we get there, then we can carry that our momentum into the playoffs for this MLB season.
Yeah, completely agree with that move. It has been a grind. But that's what we sign up for, and you wouldn't have it any other way. I've loved every minute of it, and plenty more to come. Really looking forward to getting into some playoff baseball. It's just different. It's a different way of handicapping. You've only got. I've already looked at next Tuesday's slate. I'm like talking about getting ahead of myself. I was trying to find the times of the games next Tuesday when obviously they're not arranged yet. But I was trying to work out if there's any days fall for me. But yeah, there's four wildcard games all take place next Tuesday. So yeah, it's just a different feeling, shorter slates, and you've got more time to look into player props and things like that. So lots of exciting things. I'll point you towards the Premier League Gambling Podcast, where we'll give out terrible picks, but have a great time doing it. So go and listen to that. And as Munaf says, like, rate, review in all the places where you get your podcasts. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jason. Congratulations again on chinning Trev. Unlucky Trev, try again tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow. And until then, we'll see you down the road. Cheers.